What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with who will headline UFC 300. So far, there's been no word on who will headline the historic UFC 300 card in April, with a middleweight fight between Dricus du Plessis and Israel Adesanya likely off the table and Khamzat Chimaev indicating that he won't be fighting during Ramadan. The list of options for potential UFC 300 headliners continues to grow shorter by the day. Despite that, there has been one fight that continues to remain a strong possibility, a rematch between Leon Edwards and Belal Muhammad. Heading into UFC 298, Bovada has opened a betting line for MMA fans to bet on whether or not the Edwards vs. Muhammad fight will headline UFC 300. Odds were set at plus 165 for the fight to headline the event, against negative 220 odds for another fight to headline, indicating that odds makers think another fight could potentially wind up taking the main event spot on the historic card. For his part, Dana White has indicated in an interview with longtime reporter Kevin Iola that he may announce the headliner after this weekend's UFC 298 card.
Yeah, I'll probably announce it. Maybe I'll announce it at the press conference this weekend.
With Saturday's card right around the corner, it sounds as though we may finally have a headliner for the UFC 300 event sooner rather than later. Next up, let's take a look at Paulo Costa talks about new UFC testing protocols. Last year, the UFC left fans stunned when it was announced that the promotion and the US anti-doping agency, also known as USADA, would be parting ways. The situation raised a number of questions about how the promotion would handle the drug testing in the future. Based on their guidelines for their partnership with Drug Free Sport International, which were released by the UFC, much of the new testing policy resembles things from the USADA era, with just a few key differences. Heading into the UFC 298 card this weekend, former title challenger Paulo Costa, who had expressed his frustrations with USADA in the past, spoke with Sportsnet Canada's Aaron Bronstetter to discuss the new testing policy.
Yeah, so glad. It doesn't look too much professional. I feel like a persecution from them. Like past year, I didn't fight, and was most tested. Maybe I think I'm the most tested for UFC. The whole entire people.
Mm-hmm. You are.
And yeah, so I'm glad they are not here anymore.
As Costa indicated, he has been tested twice since Drug Free Sport International took over, and during that time, he's noticed a difference in testing procedure.
Yes, I have been tested by them, I think twice, and I feel the difference for better. Like they don't do too much persecution. Like they don't hit your door like 3 a.m., 4 a.m.
Given that he was the most tested fighter in the UFC under USADA, it'll be interesting to compare his testing numbers under the new testing program. Next up, let's take a look at Ian Garry breaks silence on recent controversies. Undefeated contender Ian Garry has continued to impress during his time in the UFC, racking up 6 straight wins since joining the promotion in 2021. Over the past year, however, Garry has found himself at the center of controversy stemming from his beef with Neil Magny and theories regarding his relationship. With fighters like Colby Covington and Sean Strickland taking aim at the relationship, and others like Quinton Rampage Jackson perpetuating rumors about his relationship, Garry explained during Fight Week that things have crossed a line. Now, speaking in an interview with Shaq MMA, the undefeated contender explained that, in reality, he's done very little to disturb the peace and bring criticism upon himself.
What have I really disturbed?
You talk trash, and inevitably that's gonna rub people the wrong way. But that's the nature of the fight game, though.
Let's go back, right? Jeff Neal. What's the most interesting thing about Jeff Neal? His mugshot. All right, I used it to sell a fight. I inevitably got him to pull out of a fight because of that, right? Let's go back again to Neil Magny. Neil Magny. People are going nuts that I brought his family into saying he beats his kid. Did I say that? Or did Neil say that? And I was livid because I was sat with my little boy when I was listening to the interview and went, nobody called him up on that. So the truth is, I'm just calling people out of their own actions and their own accords in life.
Heading into the fight, as many, including Dana White, have pointed out, with a win over Jeff Neal, Garry will shoot up the welterweight rankings. Standing in his way, however, is Jeff Neal, a striker who has never been knocked out inside the octagon. With Fight Night right around the corner, Garry sits as a negative 234 favorite on betonline.ag, while Neal sits as a plus 199 underdog. Now, let's shift gears and take a look at UFC Fight Updates. Heading into UFC 298 this weekend, let's take a look at some UFC Fight Updates that may have flown under the radar. Starting with a new headliner for the UFC Fight Night Atlantic City card on March 30th. With Sean Brady out of his scheduled fight, Joaquin Buckley has now stepped in on short notice as a replacement opponent for Vicente Luque. Buckley will be entering the bout on a 2-fight win streak that saw him go 2-0 inside the octagon in 2023, with hopes of making it 3 straight. The UFC also announced a new addition to the previously mentioned Atlantic City card, with Aaron Blanchfield set to take on Manon Fior. The bout will see Blanchfield look to move one step closer to a crack at the title after rattling off 6 straight wins since signing with the UFC in 2021, while Fior looks to build on a 6-fight win streak of her own that most recently saw her defeat Rose Namajunas back in September. With Dana White also teasing a UFC 300 main event announcement after this weekend's card, expect more UFC fight updates in the days to come. Fight fans, it's about to go down this weekend at UFC 298, where battles are bound to be fought. Get in on the action with us and let us know your picks for this weekend in the comment section below. As always, for this fight, we've teamed up with DraftKings Sportsbook. And right now, new customers can all get a no-sweat bet. This means if your bet doesn't hit, you'll get a bonus bet back up to $1,000 in the amount of your original bet. The minimum deposit is only $5, and the no-sweat bet is yours when you sign up using our promo code MMAZone. You heard me right. New customers can get a no-sweat bet up to $1,000 if your first bet loses. If you're an existing customer, you get SGP insurance every day. Get a bonus bet back if one leg of your SGP loses. If sports betting isn't available in your state yet, don't worry. You can still get in on all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy and have your shot to win cash prizes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers, use my promo code MMAZone and get a no-sweat bet. That's promo code MMAZone, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Next, let's take a look at Alexander Volkanovski sends a warning to Ilia Topuria. Ilia Topuria has continued to express his confidence leading up to his UFC 298 main event showdown with Alexander Volkanovski. With his sights set on an easy win, Topuria is already planning out his next moves, indicating that he has no intentions of giving top-ranked 145-pound contenders a crack at the belt right off the bat. The way many members of the MMA community, Alexander Volkanovski included, see things, Topuria's confidence is a double-edged sword. If he wins, he'll be catapulted into superstardom. However, if he loses, his trash talk may backfire. Speaking to media members leading up to Fight Night, Volkanovski shared his thoughts on the situation.
Yeah, I mean, like the good thing is hype, he's doing all that, like, but it can bite you in the ass, mate. Like, you know what I mean? Like, could you imagine what it's going to be like? You know, once I get my hand raised, I'm wearing that belt, and like, because you know, playing the whole superstar thing, and like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this. Conor McGregor, no top guy's going to, you know, just all this sort of stuff, and you go out there and, mate, everyone's going to completely forget about you, man. It's going to hurt. That's going to hurt him a lot. You know, how does he bounce back from that? Yeah, but I mean, like I think he's just playing the game. He's probably clever. He's smart. Like he's just playing the game. He's probably preparing properly, knowing that, all right, I know I'm talking a lot. This can go really good or can go really bad. But yeah, I think he's just playing the game well.
As Volkanovski has indicated, should he emerge victorious from his upcoming fight with Ilia Topuria, he has his sights set on making a quick turnaround and headlining the UFC 300 card if possible. Next, let's take a look at Robert Whittaker reveals shocking news on Paulo Costa fight. Former middleweight champion Robert Whittaker has been booked to fight Paulo Costa 3 times now. With Fight Night right around the corner, it appears as though all systems are a go for Saturday night. As the former middleweight champ indicated in an interview with ESPN this week, now that he and Paulo Costa have seen one another in person, he knows everything is all good and his fear of the bout falling through have passed. Despite that, according to the Reaper, the UFC put stipulations in place when booking the bout, just in case it were to fall through again.
He knows how to fight. He's obviously a pretty good athlete as well. I think he's quite unprofessional, but other than that, I got nothing on him. I don't know who he is. And like the UFC understands my concerns, and they accommodated me, like with Paulo Costa's track record. You have to, like, there are extra stipulations, right? They just guaranteed me I was going to fight someone here.
In addition to the first 2 bookings between Whittaker and Costa falling through, Costa also had a fight with Khamzat Chimaev fall through last year after having to undergo surgery for a staph infection. With both men in Anaheim ready to throw down, the hope is that the fight will proceed as planned without any last-minute fight week hiccups. Next, let's take a look at Conor McGregor exposes himself in recent interview. During his rise through the rankings, Conor McGregor drew the attention of fans with his flashy watches and crisp outfits. As McGregor continued to become an increasingly bigger star in the sport, his outfits and his timepieces became even flashier. According to the former champ, however, early on in his career, he would wear fake watches. That is, until former UFC owner Lorenzo Fertitta gifted him a Rolex after his UFC Dublin win over Diego Brandao in 2014. He spoke in an interview with GQ where he opened up on the situation.
You ever hear the term, you gotta fake it till you make it? You know, before anything, I was getting the fake ones. I was rocking the fake ones like this, but proud, you know. Funny enough, my first ever real watch that I had got was a gift post UFC Dublin, which was in 2013. And it was a gift for me from Lorenzo Fertitta, who was the former owner of the UFC at the time. He gifted me a solid gold Rolex Sky Dweller because it was my first real watch. Before that, I was at the press conference wearing a fake one. But, you know, you gotta fake it to make it.
Nowadays, of course, it's nothing but the nicest watches for the Irish superstar, who has an incredible collection of timepieces worth millions that he frequently shows off on social media and during public appearances. The MMA community rips Ilia Topuria for stealing the belt from Alexander Volkanovski at the UFC 298 pre-fight press conference. Here's what the fans had to say. Wannabe Conor. Topuria is gaining on Garry in the most cringe and annoying race. He tries so hard to be Conor. Volk will snatch his hype and his soul. He should have taken his jacket from him though. Ilia trying to be Conor, the little cringe bag. Yeah, Ilia is a copycat fraud, wants to be Conor so bad. Marcos Rogerio de Lima versus Justin Tafa at UFC 298 has been cancelled due to an injury to Justin Tafa just before the weigh-ins. The details of Justin's injury haven't been disclosed, but it's been confirmed by John Anik at the weigh-ins. Top comments. The Chimaev hype train has slowed down so much, lots of bark, little bite. The sooner I never have to hear about Garry or Khamzat Chimaev again, the better. Dana laughing when they're talking about Ian being soy makes it even funnier. I hope Jeff Neal knocks the hypocrisy out of Garry. I'm so tired of hearing about Khamzat. Dude has done nothing in middleweight. Make sure to leave a comment and you might get featured in our next video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to never miss any MMA news. Check out our video from yesterday if you missed it. See you tomorrow.